Right, so today we're diving into someone who's really making waves, a figure from West Africa. You always can't miss him.
Yeah, a young military leader generating, well, huge support in some quarters.
Mostly across Africa, the diaspora too. But at the same time, drawing some really quite sharp criticism from others.
Exactly. We're talking about Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. And, the sources we've looked at paint fascinatingly different pictures of him, of his rise.
They really do. So our goal here in this deep dive is to try and navigate these views, understand this Traoré phenomena.
What makes him tick, essentially.
Yeah, his persona, that sort of Pan-Africanist revolutionary image he projects. We'll look at key policies, why he's got this widespread appeal.
And also the criticisms, right? The challenges he's facing. It's all based on the material we've reviewed.
hmm And that image you mentioned, it seems almost as powerful as the policies themselves, doesn't it?
It really does. This idea of him as a Pan-Africanist pushing for unity, independence, it connects with a long history there.
Definitely. And you see these constant comparisons to Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's own iconic leader.
Africa's Che Guevara, some called him.
Right. And the parallels are striking young leaders. Revolutionary talk. Even the look, the fatigues, the pistol.
And that resonates particularly in a country with such a young population. It taps into real frustrations people feel across the continent.
You hear it in his language, questioning ties with the West, asking why Africa's resources don't translate to wealth.
That speech he gave at the Russia-Africa summit, telling leaders to stop being puppets, that really caught global attention.
Amplified that anti-imperialist message, yeah. And it spreads like wildfire, doesn't it? Social media plays a huge role.
Massively. Slick campaigns reaching way beyond Africa. You see it resonating with African Americans, Black Britons, connecting shared histories.
So that's the image. But what about the actions? Since taking power in, 2022?
Well, big shifts. A very public break with France, the former colonial power. That's undeniable.
And turning towards Russia instead, bringing in Russian paramilitary groups even.
Yeah, significant geopolitical pivot. And then economically, you see this move towards more state control.
Left-leaning policies, you could say. Setting up a state mining company.
Demanding bigger stakes for the government in foreign operations, pushing for skills transfer.
And interestingly, applying that to Russian companies too, like Nordgold. It's not just anti-West.
Right. And building a national gold refinery, national reserves. The goal seems to be keeping more of that mineral wealth in Burkina Faso.
But it's not all smooth sailing, is it? Some sources mention issues for Western firms, maybe arbitration, even nationalization talk.
And pulling out of ECOWAS, that regional bloc,
Yeah.
forming the separate alliance with Mali and Niger, imposing tariffs even between them. It's a different direction from wider regional integration.
Yeah. Which brings us to the trade-offs. There might be some domestic moves, like trying to help civil servants.
Reversing pay rises for officials, things like that.
But the big security challenge, that Islamist insurgency, that hasn't gone away. Sources say it's still spreading.
No, that's a huge ongoing problem. And then there's the other side of this strong leadership, the crackdown on dissent.
Yeah, the source is pretty clear on that. Pressure on opposition, independent media, civil society.
And some really harsh alleged punishments for critics, like being sent to the front lines.
Which leads some to see it less as decisive leadership and more as,
ardor for a certain kind of authoritarianism, as one source put it.
it's stark how differently he's viewed. This cult of Traoré, some describe almost heroic terms.
While critics just call him a tyrant, basically, symptomatic of deeper issues.
And this anti-Western stance, is it genuine or partly strategic? Some sources point to, say, Kremlin interests in Africa's resources.
Raising that fear, are you swapping French influence for the iron grip of the Russian bear? It's a question being asked.
So when the U.S. military comments on Burkina Faso's gold potentially funding the junta, not the people.
Supporters see red, call it a smear campaign.
But others hear echoes of that concern. Maybe Russian forces are getting mining access in return for propping him up. Competing narratives, clearly.
Absolutely. So, pulling it all together, what do we have?
Well, the sources show someone who definitely inspires hope for many people longing for change, for sovereignty. His image, amplified by modern media, it's powerful.
He offers an alternative to systems many see as failing, yeah.
But the same material shows a leader who suppresses opposition, whose alliances raise big questions about trading one form of external influence for another.
It boils down to that core tension, doesn't it? Is this genuine liberation and genuine progress towards self-determination? Or is it authoritarianism wrapped in a revolutionary rhetoric?
It really underscores these huge ongoing debates across Africa about governance, sovereignty, who your friends are.
Definitely. It's complex with massive implications.
So the final thought for you, perhaps. In a world where, let's face it, traditional democracy is facing challenges, and these radical alternatives are gaining traction, how do we tell the difference?
How do societies, or even us looking in, distinguish real progress towards, you know, dignity and prosperity from narratives that might just be masking other issues, other limitations?
And what does all this mean for how the world engages with African nations going forward? Something to keep thinking about as this story unfolds.